Okay, well, I think we might get going. So, thank you all for hanging around for the last panel of the evening, from what I hear. Is everyone having a good PAX so far? So, we did an indie board game panel last year on just general indie design stuff, and this year we're kind of like, well, we want to kind of change it a bit. There's another indie board game panel as well happening tomorrow. I'm not sure exactly what time, off the top of my head. So, 6 p.m, there you go. So we thought we'd actually talk about the funding side of things, both as a backer and a project producer as well. Because how many people here have backed games before on some form of medium? Pretty much everyone. In fact, it's almost probably easier saying how many people haven't these days. How many people are wanting to put a project up, out of curiosity? That's almost as many people. That's quite impressive. That's probably why you're here, I imagine. Okay, so we thought we'd start on the backing point of view, but I should introduce our panelists as well to start with before I go too far. So, in fact, I'll let them say Sean.
Thank you. G'day everyone, thanks for coming this late in the evening. My name's Sean Carroll, I'm from 93 Mad Games. My partner in crime, Anthony, is sitting behind you all. We, back in 2009, produced our first game, Viewpoint, then the second one in 2011, Viewpoint Reflections. And then we decided... They weren't Kickstarted, they weren't crowdfunded, and we decided to go down the crowdfunding route. So we've gone through this Monster Town. It was successfully crowdfunded, but success is sort of, let's just say that it can be defined in different ways, but we'll go over that a little bit later.
G'day guys, I'm Paul. To my left here is my business partner Alex. We funded Ninjitsu on Plausible, was it 2 years ago now? Yeah, and haven't funded anything since then.
Actually, we miserably failed at one.
Yeah, I was just gonna omit that bit, but and yeah, we're looking to fund our next game very shortly.
Hi, I'm Phil Walker-Harding from Adventureland Games, which is really just me. I feel bad that I didn't bring my games to show off. Anyway, I've crowdfunded.
He'll count himself if he did. He's got a lot produced.
I've self-published about 8 games, and 3 of those were crowdfunded: Sushi Go, Pack of Heroes, and 11.
Cool. And I'm Lamont. I'm from RAEZ. I was supposed to crowdfund my board game today. That didn't quite happen since I was trying to go through the US thing, and my partner in the US, which you're required to do a US Kickstarter, decided to set up Amazon personal account when you required a business account, even though I told him to do a business account, and things kind of fell over at the last minute to find about. So I'm on they haven't quite crowdfunded yet, but you might have seen a massive, large version of Cogs if you want to see that downstairs so far. It'll be around tomorrow as well. So we've all had different experiences in the crowdfunding area. There's certainly negatives as well, and we need to go through those, because some people still have the idea that crowdfunding is just do something, make money. That's certainly not the case, as I'm sure a lot of people experienced as well. So we're going to start this from the backer's point of view, and basically look at things that can improve things you can find on Kickstarter. How many people have bad experience with Kickstarters? Either delays, projects that never got through, or projects that didn't like. Has anyone had those so far? So I think that's usually been the case. And this is part of our problem so far, is that Kickstarter's going on a bit, I suppose, and people are finding projects that they waited like a year and a half for, going to go, oh, this is actually not that good. I'm going to pay a lot of money, to get something out of it. So this is now something we have to challenge in Kickstarter. This is also with other crowdfunding. We're going to be looking at Kickstarter, I suppose, from this point of view, or other Possibles, Indiegogo, and there's actually, I think, like 500 of them. Because a lot of people are going, oh, I can make one as well, as they do, and usually they don't do anything.
Only one that matters.
Well, true. Now Kickstarter is in Australia. It has actually changed things as well. Like Possible was our kind of Australian Kickstarter equivalent of, but certainly Kickstarter being here has probably put a bit of a bar on that, so let's hammer it down a bit. So we're going to be looking at it from the board game side of things, because that's what we're all board game designers, and I assume you guys are generally board game players and designers as well. I certainly know there's designers here, there's quite a few of them sitting around. So we're going to look at it from the design point of view, well, the board game point of view. This website, I'm sure everyone's aware of Board Game Geek. This has a big page list of all the games done this year. And this is kind of scary from us when we make them. This kind of list, you get an idea of how many get produced in a single year. So this is all of them that we have to compete with around the world. there's actually, if you click on that 2014 successful project, it also lists the successful ones as well. It's actually kind of interesting to see which ones have done well. So what generally happens for us if you have projects that haven't succeeded, usually what happens is once a project gets through its goal, generally the people are more willing to fund it. I'm sure that's happened for you guys as well. Like if you see something as reach its goal, you generally kind of go, well, I know I'm going to get something. I'm not going to risk putting $100 on a game, and if it's barely started, it may fall over. So this is actually quite a nice little list of stuff that's succeeded. For me, I've gone through this looking at why they've done it, how they've succeeded, what they're doing well in the case that can assist me in some of my research as well. Some other useful things as well in our list. What are the other? There's another website.
KickTrack.
Yep, KickTrack. So KickTrack's a lot of these things here from KickTrack. Is everyone aware of KickTrack? No, there's some person shaking their head. KickTrack basically tracks a website's statistics. So it looks at how fast it's getting people funding it, where they're coming from, so you can look at kind of statistics on a Kicker. So all these here, you see the graphs behind, that come from Kicker, or KickTrack. You see the gold and a dashed line, you can see how many people funded as well. And classically funding on most crowdfunding campaigns, you have a big spike at the start and a big spike at the end. That's pretty common, where when you start it, you let all your friends know, you let the family know, and you try and promote it as much as you can. And so it'll be a big spike, then it'll prove out to be dead for the majority of the event, and then spike usually at the end as well. That's a classic Kickstarting. Not all things will follow that, but generally that's usually what happens. So some things like that's unusual, that kind of just like opting through the middle.
They actually project the chance of success as well, which is pretty awesome. But we got lied to. They just said, you will succeed, and we didn't succeed, so what the hell, KickTrack?
And something else to point out, if we can scroll back up to the one that's going up and down a bit, is, usually obviously you're thinking that they're all going to go up, but there are people that put in sort of fake backings, and Kickstarter does do a bit of due diligence, make sure that it's legitimate backers there. That's why you might see a dip after they've done it.
And look at some of the previous pledges. It says usually today's pledge. You scroll down, you find some of them negative as well. You just scroll through your profile, and there'll be.
There was one that was negative 200.
Yeah, so that's actually someone withdrawing their pledge as well. Like usually that's a bit suspicious.
-10.
-10, yeah. So
Someone wasn't happy.
Yeah, but it also didn't really matter for that amount of money.
That was a big
Right. Where was I going to go next on that?
Bad Kickstarters.
Yes, well, no, I wasn't going to go jump into bad Kickstarters just yet. There was something else I was going to. I suppose we can go on to the bad Kickstarters. So examples, this is part of people kickstarting things. I suppose I'll go through the Pegasus one. I'm not sure if has anyone seen the Pegasus campaign? No, well that's good. This
You should have backed this one.
Yeah, this is a campaign for someone that probably saw Kickstarter went $signs and basically went, oh my god, I can make so much money out of this. This is round 2 of his Kickstarter. I'm not sure why he hasn't loaded. The first one was $600,000. He wanted to produce basically a chess clone. It was pretty much what it was. And he got actually closed down because his logo was copyrighted. He basically copyrighted. He's a graphic designer apparently, and he copyrighted it. And someone said, "Well, that's actually my logo," and Kickstarter went closed down. He started up again for $300,000.
It's pretty good for a hand-built logo.
Yeah, well, he used a font. Apparently, there's a logo for the font. That's all he did. But it's an example of someone that's looked at Kickstarter and go, I can make oodles of money out of this. Let's see what I can do. I think he wasn't quite as naive. I believe he actually went to a company to produce this game, and the company's probably turn around and go, what, you want to make a chess code? $500,000. And he's gone, sounds good. I'll do a $500,000 campaign on Kickstarter. I'll make that money easily. So
that's actually $300,000. That's not $300. That's $300,000.
Yeah.
And don't be fooled by the 4 created either. I'm pretty sure they're all Pegasus.
Yeah. Oh no. Did he do something else before? I can't remember.
He did something else, but it was still obscene.
Yeah.
Pegasus related.
Pegasus related. So this is an example. I suppose for us it's fairly obvious. As backers you come look at it and go, not sure. Usually the goal is a good sign of whether someone's actually done their research. If it's too high or too low, it's a pretty good sign that something's probably wrong. If someone goes, I'm going to make the next board game, I need $200. It's like, you can't make a board game for $200. Like, you obviously misinterpreted what you need to do. Same with someone going, I want $600,000 for a board game. It's like, well, no. Some of the people I know actually went on this campaign, paid $1 just to get on that campaign to tell them, I can make this game for you for cheaper. To actually help the guy. And he started actually getting abusive as well, which is really kind kind of sad.
I think one of the important things here is we're talking about, it's comparing to drafts and reversing in chess. Why don't you just buy or back drafts, reversing chess? So for Kickstarter as backers, we all want something that's unique and original, and they're the types of projects that are going to succeed in the long run. So you can just blow these away and look at more of the original games that are out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, backers aren't silly. I mean, we all know what we like and what we want. I mean, people generally, if they're into board games, if someone goes, it's like the next chess, usually that's a bad sign. They probably don't do research. They probably played chess once in high school and went, I can do a better job on this. So the Monopoly clients who go, it's the next Monopoly. It's like, that's not necessarily a good thing to be saying, it's the next Monopoly.
I had a guy that was trying to, with the latest game he was designing, he dubbed the prequel to chess, although it was even more complicated than chess, so I don't know how that worked at all.
Was that down?
Yeah, that was it.
It went crazy.
Yeah, no, I know it succeeded,
Wow,
but the fact that he called it the prequel to chess and it's more complicated,
It's strange.
yeah, I don't know how that equates at all.
I'm impressed the chess variant game actually did well. That's actually something I'm...
It was really created for the game called Agents, which for both the first version and the second version. We got about 200,000 and 300,000.
Okay, so he's probably riding on the success of being a good designer, I'm assuming.
He does have minis though as well, minis always sell.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Just to let you know, these two guys here are successful Kickstarter.
Yeah, a couple of Australian Kickstarters.
Yeah.
They've done well. So if you see it downstairs, Endgame Games, you can see it downstairs and play the games. They both have both the Kickstarter games there. Right, so do you want to go into some of your other games as well? Show some of the other, or the bad ones. I think you've had some examples of your...
Well, we've got our one.
Well, no, absolutely. We have to talk about negatives in games as well. We cannot say, you cannot do a Kickstarter and go, it's just going to give me money. It doesn't work that way. So I think both Phil and these two have also gone through our campaign and had different outcomes. So I think it's worth mentioning.
We have had the benefit. We've had one successful and one not successful. And our first one, although we did things wrong, we managed to scrape on past. Our second one, we weren't asking 300,000. We were asking 15,000, and that was all worked out to a point where if we actually made $15,000, we would have made profit of $6.
Can we play the video at least? Like the video is pretty awesome. You get to see me dressed up as David Bowie.
Don't worry.
Play the video.
Yeah? Okay. Oh, jeez.
Oh wait, no, skip forward. Skip this.
No, you asked for it.
From Blue Room. Yeah, we're here to talk to you today about Highway Hustle. Highway Hustle is a brand new game we've made that we want to fund on Kickstarter, so hopefully you guys can get behind us. Enter Grooveopolis, the place in which the 70s never died. You're the mayor of a small local town, striving to get disco or rock and roll to the big city first. So, why have we come to Kickstarter? Well, last year we successfully crowdfunded our first game, Ninjitsu, and now that Kickstarter has come to Australia, we're set to release our newest game, Highway Hustle. This would be a tile placement game for 2 to 4 players with a huge drafting element, so it can be really easy or it can be really strategic depending on how you want to play it. Use simultaneous action selection in order to select the tile that you want to play, so you can be the first to build a super highway from your starting town to the big city. But you're going to have some trouble along the way. There are a lot of little trick tiles. You can swindle deals, turn people around, swap things. You're going to be placing roadworks, going to interrupt everything on everyone, as well as trying to get yourself from point A to point B. Yeah, like it may be an easy task to just build like a straight road from point A to point B, except it's not. You've got the other mayors from towns that are constantly finding ways to screw you up along the way. So, apart from a copy of the game, what are some of the awesome rewards that you're going to receive for helping us out? With your help and support, we will reach hopefully several stretch goals which will enhance your game experience. We're including new boards, bigger boards, different number of player boards, lots of different game tiles, some expansions, and other really cool rewards. That sounds awesome. Will this game or rock? Make it to the big city first. We'll start and fame be yours. You decide. The music showdown. Highway Hustle.
For the record, I had a lot of me that could have rivaled the sun. Just put it out there.
Hey man, what you playing?
Highway Hustle.
That sounds crazy, man. Mind if I boogie on down? You do.
Take a seat. You might learn something. I've got a reputation.
Highway Hustle.
going nowhere, just like disco.
From now on, all you'll be playing is drum solos.
You're caught between a rock and a hard place.
I don't see disc going very far.
I didn't come up
You
with
fly
the
Stardust, man.
Build epic roads. Bulldoze your opponents. Ride your way to... Wait, what? What? This is so wrong. This theme makes no sense.
Anyone
Famous.
see what we did wrong? Anyone?
There was no element of the gameplay actually demonstrated there.
That was one thing, yes.
It's definitely a problem.
Hey, what did this have to do with it?
Yeah, that was one thing we battled with. I would like to say that I had nothing to do with the thing.
We tried to make the thing as uniquely as possible, but didn't realise that you have to actually have some familiarity.
Well, things got to wrap music
Yeah.
mechanics to some degree.
Yeah, and we just kind
Like, it was
of
music
we
concept,
we just went out there.
Originally, it was a road building game, and honestly, when people actually played the game, they really enjoyed it, and it had tons of replayability. It is a fantastic game, but we added this theme that didn't work and wasn't. I guess it wasn't good for. Didn't mesh with everyone's point of view. We could have just left it as a road building game, but apparently that was too boring.
Can I have a contrast to that, because okay, that I actually like the video, but you know, this is talking about road building and you know, disco and rock, but they're two things that don't really go together. But we've got the Laser Cat one up there. Oh, okay. Well, you wouldn't think lasers and cats would go together either, but they seem to be very popular.
Cats and internet sold.
Yeah.
So we
yeah.
tried to be unique in a way that we thought people would go, hang on, this is something interesting, something unique, and it didn't pay off. It wasn't the right, unique.
And you guys also then asked Morgan Big said what we do
We
wrong.
did,
And
we-
they've got a very extensive list of
Oh
problems.
yeah. For once,
Went
the
on and
Game
on and
Geek
on
community
and on.
actually responded to a post that someone in Australia posted, and we posted this up and said, you know, what's wrong with our Kickstarter campaign? And 4 pages later,
Yeah.
we had a huge list.
The summary was everything. That was a cliff notes.
One of the main things that we found was a killer for our campaign, and nowadays everyone has to just kind of include it. One of our friend of ours is doing a campaign now actually, was shipping. Shipping was a very, very big deal. It increased the cost for us to create our game. That's why it's $15,000. We actually only needed $8,000 to properly publish our game, but that extra money on top of the $8,000 was all for shipping and then paying for the shipping, which is why I said that the complete profit we would have made if we hit $15,000 was $4 or $6.
We did something similar where we also went on BGG and asked, you know, what's up with our campaign. And
You got banned, right?
we got kicked and banned and everything. Yeah, you're not allowed to talk about Kickstarter on BGG. But yeah. But anyway, to cut a long story short, a lot of the Americans came back and said, look, we're not going to buy a card game for anything more than $15 to $20. And shipping, if you're going from like using Australia Post to get over to America, it's at least about $20.
Yep.
So you can't compete there. I think.
So to get a full game of Sean's game was $45, and then you had to kick in another $20 to get it shipped to America. And the biggest thing we found was that Americans do not want to pay shipping, and the justification for that was we're in America, we can buy an American project and not pay for shipping.
Well, they're used to it. It's like anything that you get used to. If you come to expect a certain price point, you're always going to expect that certain price point. And when someone just tries to when someone has something more expensive like us coming from Australia, they don't really consider the fact that we're shipping all the way from Australia. They're just like, well, we've added for free shipping on every other project. We're not going to start paying it now, so make it free.
So we've shown the side where it may not work, but I think Phil's got some successes.
Yeah, I think Phil's got an interesting story on Pack of Heroes.
Yes, this is Pack of Heroes, which I funded last year. We asked for $5,000 and got 38, so went pretty well. But it wasn't the first time we launched it. Just before this week we launched it, the same campaign, asking for 15, really similar to you guys without maths, and we got 8. So we pretty much relaunched straight away, but we changed quite a few things. The main thing we changed is we stripped a whole lot of sort of physical content out of the game, reducing it to just a really little pack of cards, which we could do for $5,000 because it was literally just like 30, 40 cards. And then as stretch goals, we added back in everything we wanted the game to be. So by the time I got up to $15,000, it was the same game anyway. But because the game hit 5,000 funded and got all this momentum, as every project does when it funds, we just found as soon as it hit 5, it just kept going and going and going. And we ended up adding, like, we doubled the amount of stuff in the game. So that's an interesting example of, I guess, human psychology. You ask for 15, you don't get it. You ask for 5, you get 38. But yeah, obviously shipping, huge issue for us as well. I think we had to do lots of creative thinking to get around how we could afford it for shipping. And again, because we built free shipping into the pledges, just because we knew that's what everyone's used to, and that's what American people expect. So we just built all the shipping into the cost, and basically we decided we weren't going to make a heap of money from that Kickstarter. We were just happy to get the game out.
And relaunching immediately, that was a big advantage for you as well.
Yeah. So because we relaunched pretty much straight away, everyone who had funded pretty much jumped straight back on, and so it funded in less than a day, and then the momentum from there just went off. So if you do a Kickstarter and it fails, if you're really confident and you just think, something didn't quite gel, think about ways you can reconfigure what you did to make it more attractive and get straight back out there. You know?
It doesn't hurt to try again unless you're this guy.
Oh, he's still trying. He's now moved to Possible because you get all the money from Possible if they fail. And I think he went down to 100K. I think he's after on Possible because obviously that's more.
Indiegogo.
Indiegogo. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, still not successful.
So if you're saying if he sets it at 5,000, if we go along what
he might get there one
day.
day.
He might get there one day. Well, he's still trying. So he's keen. So good luck to him in the future, but he's going to prove things.
So one of the other things, the warning signs behind. Do you want to say something?
The kind of combination of all these. It's like as Phil was saying, his first go was a little bit complex, and with Monster Town you can see here our first go was going to be 4 individual decks because we wanted flexibility so people could pick up vampires or werewolves. But as the campaign went, we actually sort of changed everything, virtually everything on the page, and put it in one box, and that's got us over the line. It was just far more simple, one game instead of 4 separate decks. Just keep it as simple as possible, and then you can add on through stretch goals and whatever else you achieve.
But the main benefit of that, of course, as soon as you fund, people see it as being successful. So this is what Phil's mentioning. When they hit that kind of like goal, you go, okay, I can actually pay money and I'll get the product theoretically. Because people start to lose a bit of confidence in that. As Kickstarter and all the crowdsourcing continues, as people don't get their product in X months, or the creator eventually loses their top and burns all their product, which is, I'm not sure if you guys heard that story about one guy losing his house and then getting shitty and showing a video of himself burning all the product and actually getting sued, and his whole life fell apart because it was all a long story. But that's
not even once.
Yeah.
So we should probably talk about some warning signs.
Yep. So warning signs. This is we'll probably get some input from you guys as well. That when you look at a game, what makes a game good? We mentioned like looking like chess or checkers as being the thing they think they're good. Better than. What else is there? The high or low amounts of money. So if something's too high, too low, probably they haven't done their research, because a good Kickstarter is well researched. You don't just go 100 grand, that'll do it. You really go talk to your manufacturer, you go talk to the shipping company, you go talk to...
You need it all pre-planned.
You need it all pre-planned, so you can go, I need 62K, so I'm going to ask for 63, and that's what I know. So, and then you tell people in the pledge, this is where the money's going, so they understand it.
Yeah, artwork I think is a big thing. If they don't have like at least a good example of how their artwork is going to turn out, you can't be sure of what the product is actually going to be.
This is a really tricky one. We had a discussion about this earlier, because artwork, if it's poor artwork, people are generally, I mean, to me a poor artwork game doesn't mean a bad game at all. I'm sure we've all played games that look atrocious and play amazingly, where you just go, this game is awesome. I don't care the fact it's coming to stick figures. It's just amazing to play. On Kickstarter, it doesn't work. You're a very visual marketplace. So if someone goes, that game looks like crap, they're probably going to assume that you designed it like crap as well, because you don't know. You don't have that decision making to work out how good it's going to play because you haven't played it yet. So I think that's I like to think crap looking games can still succeed well, but in this, you've got to really, you've got to be looking as good as possible, so they assume your gameplay is as good as you look. So that's one thing I'd say there.
Yeah, I think being arrogant in your risk section as well, like you'll see often a lot of first project creators will basically say, oh yeah, this is all going to go perfectly well, I see no reason whatsoever that anything's going to go wrong, no delays, no problems with manufacturers, everything's going to be perfect. And you can immediately tell that they've got no idea what they're doing, or that they haven't done this before, because especially if you're going to be a first time creator, where you can actually see right below their profile that says first created, if they don't have that kind of clarity, then you're going to assume that they don't know what they're doing, because everything can go wrong. Even with professional companies will still say, this is what could possibly happen. And that's how you know that like they know what to be prepared for.
I've seen a lot of people as well is misjudging the requirements to ship as well. I mean, a lot of people go into a Kickstarter before they've planned it, and if they do succeed, they're like, oh, okay, succeeded, now I need to find a printer. Oh, now I need to find a shipping company. And that's a lot of these reasons we get these massive delays because someone really hasn't done their research. They've kind of got the money and they're kind of going, oh, now I need to actually work out what I'm going to do, and realising how a massive process that is of going through it.
One of my students backed a project, I think he kicked in $100 for an amazing graphic novel / huge deluxe set. And the guy was in America and he made this amazing product, and then he went, sorry international guys, can't ship to you, don't have any money anymore. So he got absolutely nothing.
Did he get his money back?
No, it was all invested in it.
Wow.
I'm actually personally waiting for something from February still.
Yeah, I finally got my first game. Sure, like 9 months ago I think, which isn't bad, but yeah. So usually as a designer creator, you don't expect all these delays, and they're usually out of your hands. Like, yeah, I mean, I can bash through my game, get my game completed in like, 3 months. But then you're relying on the production company. You need to get sampling from the production company. You need to get them actually geared up. If the samples are bad, you go back and say, look, you need to redo this. You get them sent to you again. If they're good enough, you get them starting printing. That can be on a queue, because normally they've got heaps of customers, so you'll be the 10th game in their queue. When your game gets printed, you then need to get it quality assessed as well, so you need to hire someone to go to the printing company if you can't do it yourself and go, is this any good? Is the top game off the stack of 1,000 good? Is the bottom game good? Is the one in between good? If they're all good, you're okay. If they're any wrong, you're back to, please try again, from 403 down to like 690, they've all gone green, reprint the entire lot to make sure they're right. Then you get it sent to your shipping company, and you hope that they store it well and label it well, and then they ship it off. And all that is each step can go wrong, as I'm sure as backers yourself, you've probably been at the...
Quarantine fumigates it or burns it or something like that, so you have to start all over again.
Yeah.
There's another one,
especially
storage
if it's
places.
turning green.
Another storage place is too humid for some board games. It's an interesting one for board game developers. Find a fulfillment company that has air-conditioned storage. This is something I've heard about. Some companies don't air condition, they get very humid, so the boxes get stored there for months, and you get very nice curved everything. So you open the box and all these curved bits come out because they just can't, they absorb moisture. And so they eventually become a box full of random bits, which doesn't really appeal to your audience. Your audience will kind of go, oh, this is crap, redo it. And then you've already paid the printing company, the printing company's gone, I'm good, like I've done my job, I did it, so it's not their fault. And yeah, it starts getting quite tricky.
2 people left, we're just going to start our crowd. We've got a question.
You were just talking about earnings for the product.
Yes.
I might have it wrong, but my understanding was that he figured out that it was going to cost X.
Yes.
He asked for X, he got X from the Kickstarter, and then, it funded to that level, and then Kickstarter gave him half X and said, well, we have to hold back taxes.
He might have, he might not have counted that into his planning. Again, Kickstarter isn't a free service. you do have to pay them 5% of what you take, and then you've got to factor
So I
all
don't
the
know the
other
full
costs.
story of that either. I haven't.
In Australia,
Not
not in
through
Australia, you have to pay them yourself when you make profit, etc. But I'm not sure what it's like in America.
We spent 15,000 on actually making the product, so we had to make the profit.
So you don't need to pay tax.
Yeah. Okay, good.
One of the things that I think we got caught with was customs in Australia. Yeah, I think we had to fork out an extra $1,000 that we did not account for in our first campaign because it costs $1,000. We got it from China, came to Sydney, and then we had to get it from Sydney to Melbourne, and then there was like duty tax, customs tax, and then delivery to GST, and then delivery to our house, and it was an extra $1,000 for the product we had, which was quite small.
Some of those people
14 small boxes.
Same with shipping out as well. We're paying like VAT tax over in Europe as well. Is brutal. It's 20% minimum, and you usually can't get away from that. That includes shipping, so you pay more on top of your shipping, which is to me pretty annoying. Someone said that if you below, I think it's at $15, VAT is not tacked on. But with Kickstarter, it's a bit of a problem. So if someone buys 2 copies, you then $30, and you suddenly pay VAT on it as well. So it's pretty harsh. To keep UK people happy, you've probably seen that whole UK friendly shipping option. A lot of campaigns have this little UK stick on them.
I started that with Australia as well. Saying that they're Australian friendly as well.
Okay. The point of that is basically they ship it in bulk to Europe and then ship it out to the people from a warehouse. So the people at the other end don't pay that for themselves because it's already you've paid the VAT for them. So that's one of the issues with that.
And would that be through a fulfillment company?
Correct. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. You could, you couldn't really do it yourself. You need someone, basically, you need a warehouse, I suppose. If you ship it to a warehouse, you would then pay the VAT because you would be the one importing it. And then if people bought it and you sent it from the warehouse to them, they wouldn't pay VAT. So that would be one way of getting around it.
So for Sushi Go, I just got my friend who lives in London to reship them to everyone because it was only, I think, 80 games. But for my most recent game, we teamed up with Spiral Galaxy, which is a distributor in London, and they have like a service which is exactly for that purpose. That you send them all the games, and they have a fulfillment service, and they ship them out, and you pay a fee. So you have to cop a bit of extra cost, but you get heaps more backers because they don't have to pay that. So just one of those things.
Europe is a tricky one because supporting Europe is actually really quite harsh on your bottom line. It's actually sometimes if you're trying to make your product as close to the line as possible, Europe will probably make you lose money. I've seen some people talk about their Kickstarter and say, well, actually, every Europe person pretty much costs us money, but hopefully that made them happy. And I'm a bit sceptical about doing that. It doesn't sound like a wise business choice to me to lose money to customers, but I'm going to try and do global free shipping. And I know there's some weird countries around the world that will probably make me lose money, but I hope these are very, very small.
I'm still dealing with the Brazil Postal Service, so, but I feel bad saying no Brazil because they're lovely people. They just sit and wait for months and months and months and months for their games. So
I didn't know that. So
yeah, 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, well, the main problem is that you don't. It would be all fixed if you could delegate a certain amount of postage for each different area, but you can't do that with Kickstarter.
You can now.
You can?
Yeah, as of yesterday.
They're changing it.
Oh wow, yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm out of the loop.
Yeah, no, it's quite recent. So yeah,
That's awesome. It's about time.
Do you research,
that.
Paul?
So Kickstarter is evolving as we go. I mean, as they all kind of are. I think Puzzle's now changed its campaign, its style a bit now that Kickstarter's come in and kind of compete a bit with Puzzle. Puzzle's kind of going more towards the movies, and the novels going to a bit more the culture style things. That's what Puzzle's more pushing as being the things that are funny rather than anything. Because Puzzle had a big success story with the digital watch or something. They had an Australian guy who really, really well. One of the biggest funds came out of that.
The digital watch.
Yeah, so it's not digital watch. I can't remember. It's an electronic device. Puzzle did it, and it made, I think, like $200,000, and they were obviously very happy.
But when it comes to shipping overseas, the general stats are Kickstarter backers. Most of the people who back Kickstarter will be 70% of Americans, and the rest is just a smattering over the rest of the globe. So
I think it's that. That's a book.
Yeah.
It's about.
That's definitely not a watch.
Are we coming to close?
So speaking about the American backers, it's actually very this is the reason that I kind of got a bit delayed, because I was initially going to launch months ago.
It's definitely.
And a couple of people in the industry said, are you going to launch the American one or the Australian one? The Australian one had just started. I went, well, I'll do the Australian one. They said, yeah, no, you can make a lot more money in the American one. And I was like, really? And they said, oh yeah, the Americans, won't buy anything non-American. I went, but it's on the American site. The Americans see us, they see the Australian one next to theirs, but it's in AUD, not USD. So that's the difference. I went, but surely they don't really care. So I went to post it on Board Game Geek, I went to post it on various Facebook pages saying, people said this, is it true? Anyone from International said, no, it's all fine. Anyone from America said, yeah, we don't really like stuff not in USD. And I'm like, really? So yeah, apparently they get freaked out by things not in USD.
They just don't like change.
There's also the issue of the American bank is actually used on the pay system, whereas the Europe Australia
Valid point.
Yep.
they actually go through Kickstarter's own charter facilities. So we had Australian American backers who said, I don't like using Kickstarter's own one, I'll use Amazon Pay existing on that.
Well, so that's about, and I had heard that come up as well. So the Americans obviously are all running on Amazon, so they're ready to basically buy things on Amazon, so it's like another payment system.
So my most recent project was in AUD, and we got a lot of American backers in it. We got 1,000 backers total, and about 700 were US. And what we did is the first thing you saw after the game description was a massive banner, which was like the "It's Okay Americans" banner. So it had like international friendly campaign, free shipping all around the globe. $1 1 Australian dollar equals approximately, whatever it was in US. Just like a big banner saying, don't be scared.
Yeah.
Here's everything you need to know. You can still back this. It's just like backing anything else. So, but that was my experience.
It's like a whole keep calm and
Yeah, exactly.
Keep calm.
And surprisingly, a lot of them, when they got it, were like, oh, I didn't realise it was coming from Australia. So they obviously didn't look that hard. So it's a strange thing.
So I'm going to go through this. I suppose if you're in the loop on anything, you've seen me mention anything, I'm going to go through the American one now, since it's cost me more than how much money to actually get set up in America. You need to get a corporation set up in America, so that's about $1,000 to do it quickly. Then you pay more. So you've got to pay for Amazon, that's another 5%. You're then going to pay for other, what else is there? Translation rates. You've got to pay your American company. You can't take all the money and ship it back to Australia, because that would be seen as a bit dodgy. But if you sign an agreement saying the American company is going to store the money for you and pay you, and they're going to take the money to look after the campaign and pay you the rest, that's fine. But you need to go through the actual tax paperwork to do it. So theoretically, I can give you an idea of how it goes.
Next question again.
Let's just go back to what Bill was saying about the US sort of friendly, I'm going to say the world, so I actually backed and but what I found interesting is that the previous projects were based in the US, like the Euro is so I thought like probably that the people in the US probably didn't know that it was shooting in Australia. They probably might have taken
Yep, it's possible. I don't think our percentage of like repeat backers on 11s was actually pretty small. I think because the theme was high tea as opposed to superheroes. But no, yeah, maybe people had this idea in their head that I was an American, which probably helped. But the Australian pages are pretty clear that it's Australia. I mean, I don't know there exactly, but yeah.
You loved high tea.
Oh.
because like I went to I just went to alright, is this project coming from Australia? But then all these other projects that were profiling from the US, and you just something like
it's like an American
That's
exception.
just my point of view.
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay. We were also one of the very first Australian campaigns. Like we launched like day it launched or the day after it launched. So maybe a lot of people just didn't notice the AUD there. So yeah, don't take my experience as like exactly what happens. But I think you can do little things to help you. people feel comfortable.
Well, certainly the response I had from the people was generally the Americans said no, that actually is a problem. They don't like things in other currencies, even though they could just go over new website, conversion rate. But apparently that's a bit of a...
Too hard to do.
Too hard. Now, this is probably a good example of another thing. Marketing is where Kickstarter is all about. You put a product up, it may be the best product ever, but if people don't know about it, it's not going to go anywhere. People on Kickstarter, at least it has enough people that they often will look through it for stuff. But generally you have to market it. And Potato Salad is an example of marketing that succeeded. And obviously because it was a joke, the guy put up this looks funny. And everyone around the world, we had adverts. You see adverts here on the websites, on newspapers in Australia about potato salad, which is really quite interesting. That shows how well it did. It got, I think it even says in this people's page. This is statistics from Kickstarter. Really, really good. Kickstarter will help people. It's not there just to basically let you dump in the deep end. They talk about the number of people, and it got seen by. Do you want to scroll down? They should be telling you how many people actually saw it, and that's the interesting thing.
Over 100,000?
Fourth most viewed project page in Kickstarter's history. That is immense. The fact it only made the amount of money it did for that amount of people shows that really most people kind of went, ha, and didn't back it. Because obviously it was a joke thing.
So I did.
So you should be able to see the numbers down there somewhere of the keep going. There should be how many people actually saw it. This is stats from Kickstarter, by the way. Actually show you like that. The most of the people came from his hometown. The 62% you just saw up there.
That was visitors per day, yeah, over
4.1 million visits. That's insane for a campaign. I mean, 4.1 million visits. Most of those people also just had a bit of a chuckle and left it at that, because it was everywhere. It was all, the fact that we saw it here just blew me away. In response to that, I think I looked up potato salad, I think, within a week, and there was 45 potato salads on Kickstarter. I doubt a single one of them got more than probably $1, I guess. Because obviously it was a joke. The fact is people thought there was some money is a bit strange. But it shows you purely the power of marketing. You get something that is not a true product, and you get it seen by 4.1 million people. You're good to go. So you need to get your campaign as prepared as possible. Tell all the media that you can. We're trying to get an Australian board gaming group together so we actually help each other to do this, to try and promote all our Australian board game development. So if any of you guys that don't already know us, there's a set of board game developers here, if you release something, find someone, tell us like, look, I've got a game, I want to show it off, I want to release it, let us know. We'll try and get behind it, basically promote it to our community.
Yeah, I was going to say this at the end, but if you're not already part of it, we have Tabletop Game Designers Australia on Facebook, and it's a group, we've got about 150 people at the moment, and we had a huge meeting yesterday, and this group is going to be doing some massive things in the future. So all of our cumulative information, and there's a couple of guys out here as well, we post stuff up all the time, people ask us questions, and we give great responses. Any kind of research you want, we've got it all up there.
And we're going through Kickstarter again and again and again, because that is still the primary. Something I probably should mention with Sean as well. So Sean's a bit on the publishing side. We're talking about crowdfunding here, but of course that is one avenue of making money. And there's people that, there's either a person in the crowd that's kind of like, well, I don't really want to go through the whole stress of putting up a campaign. And it's very true. Putting up a campaign is not much fun, I must say. Trying to do it today was pretty brutal. I kind of eventually went, yeah, this is not going to happen, as things kind of fell apart. I went, that's probably things like you can go and pass that under a cupboard back in this corner, back at PAX. But, so we also have publishing. There's other avenues. There is like finding a publisher, finding an angel investor, so finding someone that's willing to give you money, finding venture capital that's willing to give you money and expect to get a return on it.
Game agents, so someone who you can just give all the money to and they'll do either all the project for you or they'll do a part of it. There's grants, so the main grant that's in Australia at the moment is, I think it's still running, it's the Export Market Development Grant. So if we're sending something over to America, then if you spend, I think it's at least $5,000, they'll give you half of that money back. So there's many different avenues to being able to fund your project. I think the important thing is you